Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. A little while back, I did a video of 25 designer fragrances that every man needs to know about. And if you own those 25, you already have an insane collection, better than probably 99% of people out there. Today, we're doing the same thing, only niche fragrances instead of designer. Now, I probably don't need to tell you this, but there are a lot of differences when it comes to designer versus niche. One of the biggest differences, if not the biggest for a lot of people, the price. Niche fragrance is typically much more expensive than designers, though not always. There are some niche fragrances that even at retail are less than some designer fragrances nowadays at retail. But for the most part, niche fragrances usually come with higher prices. So I would suggest that if you're trying to pick up some niche, if you're just getting into niche fragrances, shop at discounters to save a bit of money, and sometimes a lot of money, depending on which one we're talking about. I'll have all of these linked in the description below. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just jump into it. Let's begin with a more affordable niche fragrance, Mancera's Intense Cedre Boisé. Now you could also go with the original Cedre Boisé, and that would be a great choice as well. Both of those really good for year-round use, daytime or nighttime, just about any situation. They'll work, and they're big compliment pullers with big performance to boot. This one has citrus, currant, and leather as some of the notes in the fragrance. Really nice pressurized atomizer and a magnetic cap also. Good amount of sweetness in there off the top from the fruits and additional sweetness as it dries down from vanilla. Really smooth, easy to wear, and has a very attention-grabbing opening. Now, one thing that I wanted to do here is to limit the fragrances to 2 from each house. So, for example, Mancera, only 2. No more than that, and I wanted to have one that was fresher and one that was more for cool weather. That's for all the houses that I talk about here today. I don't talk about 2 with every house, but I limited it to 2. And also, in case it's not obvious, there are a lot of fragrances that I'm not going to be able to talk about that are also fantastic. So just because it's not here doesn't mean it's bad or worse than the ones I am talking about. Next, Mancera Red Tobacco. Red Tobacco, one of the most popular fragrances from Mancera. The opening can be a little bit rough for people, especially if you haven't smelled a lot of niche fragrances or you've never smelled this one before, because the opening is aggressive. Lots of spice in there, a lot of things going on. As it dries down, it becomes much easier to wear. It has amazing performance, just pushes forever. So this is one that will fill up a room. It will cut through the cold easily. And as it dries down, the warmth and sweetness that it has smells fantastic. A huge compliment puller once you get out of the open. Off the top, can be a bit much. Now, before we head to the next fragrance, here are some codes you can use to save money across a bunch of different websites. GS11 for 11% off at fragflex.com. That's a fragrance discounter, but they have a ton of niche. Max Aroma, also a bunch of niche fragrances. Gents 10 or Gents 20 are the codes for there. One of those codes will get you 10% off, the other 20, but the 20% off code doesn't work on everything. Try that one first. If it doesn't work, do the other. And then Gents 10 for 20% off of twistedlily.com, which is another retailer that carries a bunch of niche. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. Now, this next one is a little out of left field. It's Cell Marin from Healy. Now, this fragrance for a little while was decently hyped, decently talked about, but not as much anymore. And this was a fragrance that came up a bunch when people were asking, hey, what's a really realistic aquatic fragrance? This one. It got mentioned as the go-to for quite a while, but then as time moves on, you know, it doesn't get talked about quite as much. So this is a seawater, sea salt, sea grass fragrance. You have a little citrus off the top as well, but you have to really enjoy marine fragrances to like this one. It's not going to be as easy wearing as like a, you know, sweet designer aquatic fragrance, but if you want one that's a bit more realistic, check this out. It's really good stuff. After that, Angel Share, just a really super obvious one, but have to include it because this list is made for somebody who maybe doesn't really know a whole heck of a lot about niche fragrances, has never really owned a whole heck of a lot of niche fragrances, but they want to know what are 25 that I really need to know. I worked in a few like this one that are a little more under the radar, but then I also had to include the stuff that's just super obvious, like this. So Angel Share, extremely popular, which is evidenced by the fact that there are untold clone fragrances of this one now. That seems to be like a new Angel Share clone coming out every week. Amazing scent though. A little gourmandy, boozy, very sweet. Great for fall and winter time, massive compliment puller. Can't go wrong with this stuff. So Angel Share, you have to know that one. Also have to know Reflection Man from Amouage. So this is gonna be my fresh choice for Amouage, like the first freshie that I would probably point you to if you were trying to figure out, well, what Amouage should I check out first? I want something fresh, probably this. The most well-known, for sure, as far as their fresh scents go. And to be fair, Amouage makes far fewer freshies than they do scents that are dark, rich, heavy, and bold. So this is a white floral fragrance, and it has been compared at times to being like a niche take on Jean-Paul Gaultier's Labo. So sort of like if you enjoy that, you should enjoy this, that type of vibe. And this is really nice, very classy, pretty easy to wear, and elegant also. Good change of pace for a fresh fragrance. So that's the warm weather one. What's the cool weather one? Well, Amouage Jubilation 25. They also have an extrait version of this out now, so if you really like this one, you could check that one out, but I would suggest first to check out the original Jubilation. And there are so many Amouage fragrances for cool weather that are amazing. Just top-notch stuff, but I feel like this has got to be the one, you know? If you're gonna just check out one to kick it off, that's a good place to start. It's got a bunch of notes. Remember that? Remember when fragrances would come out, especially niche ones, and they would have like 30 notes? That doesn't happen much anymore. You get like 3, sometimes 4. So with this, you have a blackberry in the opening that smells great, a little bit tangy, sweet, fresh. But then you also have honey and woods and spices and resins underneath that, right off the rip, that just gets more and more rich as it dries down. Absolutely amazing stuff. You gotta know this. After that, we move on to You or Someone Like You from Etat Libre d'Orange. And this house is not that expensive, even at retail. And at discounters, pretty affordable, usually under $100. So this is one of those circumstances where you can have a niche fragrance that is cheaper than a designer fragrance. This one is really minty. You have to like mint, or else you're not going to enjoy this one. And when I say mint, I'm not really talking about like Versace Eros mint, not like that. No, but like you got a mint leaf and you did this and took a whiff. Absolutely fantastic for spring. One of my favorites actually for around this time of year. And this house, you know, it's really well known for its funky fragrances, some of its weird fragrances, but it also has a lot of scents that are just really easy to wear, like this one, or cologne. Yeah, I know, the name is just cologne, but that one also. Remarkable People, not very difficult to pull that off either. So don't just write this house off as like, oh, it's a gimmick. You know, it's a goofy little house that makes silly fragrances, but they have good stuff, wearable stuff, affordable stuff. So you should know about it. Then we go on to Le Labo. This is Bergamot 22. This is my personal favorite from the house. Yes, you could say maybe it's like more of a, you know, an entry-level fragrance from Le Labo, but Bergamot 22 just smells great, man. It's a really pleasant, high-quality citrus, and sometimes that's what you want. My bottle is actually from 2017. Oof. Still smells good. So you have a lot of citrus in there, obviously bergamot, a little bit of vetiver as it dries down, and also some white florals in there that accentuate the citrus off the top. Great for spring and summer, high quality, easy wearing. So it's one of those ones that, yes, it's niche, it smells niche, the quality smells up here, but it's that type of fragrance that anybody can wrap their head around. Creed up next, Green Hours Tweed. That's gonna be my pick for the warm weather scent. Yeah, Millesime Imperial, that'd be a good choice. Virgin Island water also, Rolfa, but I gotta go with my favorite. Now it has some similarities to stuff like Cool Water or even Cody Aspen, but obviously the quality here, once again, much higher, very green, fresh, classy, another perfect one for springtime. And even though it came out in the 80s, this stuff still works. Oh, dude. Awesome. And which other fragrance from Creed should you know? Aventus. I mean, it had to be Aventus, right? It had to be Aventus. You may say that it's not really a cool weather fragrance, but it's an all year fragrance, and all year includes cool weather, so it works. Aventus is the most copied men's fragrance out there, I would say, between clones and fragrances that were inspired by this one. You can't escape it. Let's switch it up and go with Elborn next. This is from Carner, Barcelona. Sometimes you can get this one at discounters for a pretty good price. Actually, Carner, Barcelona in general, you can sometimes find for pretty cheap at discounters. So this one has honey, benzoin, vanilla, and fig as some of the notes in the scent. It has a pretty unique scent profile. More of a fall and wintertime fragrance that has an interesting sweetness. Like it has a bit of a fizz to it, but then it's also rich and very warm, almost syrupy, but then also a little balsamic at times. It's just well done. Elborn was also a bit of a hype beast at one point in time and still deserves a little love. Let's go Xerjoff next. Neo up first. They've changed the bottle style also. This old style bottle you won't find anymore, so it's not gonna look like this. But Neo is another citrus forward fragrance, one of the better citrus forward fragrances out there, also very green. So bergamot, neroli, green notes, some vetiver as it dries down. This is one that I kind of put up with Bergamot 22, like just top of the line, easy wearing, green, citrusy scents that literally everybody is gonna like. The issue you might run into is you'll have people like, ooh, what is that? Where can I get that? Then you show them and they see the price and they go, oh, never mind. That's okay. Perfect for spring and summer. And the other Xerjoff has to be Naxos. Again, because I wanna keep it to just 2 per house, 1 more for cool, 1 more for warm. So Naxos, really well known for being one of the best wearable tobacco fragrances out there in the niche realm. There are a bunch of tobacco scents out there, but you have some more like on this side, Naxos and Herod and things like that that are really easy to wrap your head around. Then you have some that are like extremely ashy and dark and heavy and the type of fragrance that the uninitiated would smell and just run away from. So this one, easy. Also has a little lavender in there, gives it an aromatic touch, a little bit of a classy edge, but still has a nice sweet tobacco. Then let's go Imaginary Authors next, my favorite from the house, Cape Heartache. I feel like with Imaginary Authors that I started off with their 2 best and then fell in love with the house, and I've been chasing that high ever since. They still make really good stuff, don't get me wrong, but I started with Cape Heartache and Memoirs of a Trespasser, and those both just blew me away. I think those are their best, but that's just my own taste, obviously. A lot of people are gonna have different opinions about that. So you got the notes on the back here. This is one of the old style bottles. They don't make these anymore. Back in the day, it was just like this, and you would get it in a little mailer when you ordered it. There were no boxes or anything, and it was a 60 mil, now it's 50. So on the back, the notes: Douglas fir, pine resin, western hemlock, vanilla leaf, strawberry, old growth, and mountain fog. I love this stuff. The strawberry comes through right away. It cuts right through the middle of the scent. So you do have that old growth, mountain fog kind of feel. You do get those. They're imaginary notes, but you can interpret that in your brain. You're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But you have these woods, this bit of earthiness in there, coniferous woods, and then that sweet strawberry just goes right through. I love this scent. It's very comforting, to me anyway, and quite unique. It is not gonna be for everybody though. That being said, if you're just getting into indie and niche, checking some stuff out kind of along these lines, you know, stuff that's not really super far out of left field, but that's also not what's being sold in mass. Something like that is gonna be very helpful to you because you can smell that and then be like, okay, does it work for me? And if yes, cool, you know, you can start branching out more, but if no, why does it not work for me? And then you can kind of make educated decisions on like, well, okay, how far do we want to try to push this for now? Or do you want to keep more mainstream stuff for now until your taste evolves? If it does evolve, if it doesn't, that's fine. Little stepping stones is what I'm trying to say. Roja Parfums next. Creation E or Enigma, depending on where you live. This one says Enigma, Enigma Parfum. And this guy right here, fall and winter time staple. There's also the Parfum Cologne. So you could get the Parfum Cologne if you wanted. That one's a little bit more affordable. I think if price doesn't matter, go for that one. Ooh, that's really nice. Like a Coca-Cola kind of vibe when you first spray it on. It has that sweetness, that syrupy sweetness, but then it is very effervescent, extremely lively. That's a thing that a lot of Roja Parfum fragrances have in common. If you smell a bunch of them, you'll know what I'm talking about, but when you smell it, it smells just like a very fine fragrance. By that, I mean legitimately like a fine mist. Yes, a fine fragrance in the sense that it's an expensive fragrance, but check the atomizer. You see how it's like just a little tiny dispersed cloud there, like great atomization? It smells like that. When you smell Roja Parfum fragrances, it's like everything is blended together extremely well, and it's very light in how it touches your nose, even though the performance is big. Hopefully that makes sense. You also have spices in here, a bit of booziness, with just an extremely well done cool weather fragrance that you gotta know about. And then for warm weather, Elysium Parfum. Same thing applies here as here. If you want a more affordable version, there's the Parfum Cologne. You could get that. That's gonna be in the blue bottle, the one that more people know probably. But if money doesn't matter, I get this one. It is still a blue fragrance made for year-round use, daytime, nighttime, anytime. This one just has more richness to it. Get a lot of citrus in here, some fresh spice. You get ambergris as it dries down. Touch of apple as well, but more citrus. Really, really, really well done. And this will have you standing out all year. Let's go with this one next because I have to. It is Layton from Parfums de Marly. Just like Aventus, you have to have Layton in here. I mean, really, Aventus, Layton, Angel Share, Baccarat Rouge 540, those are probably the fragrances that have more clones than anything. And I didn't put BR 540 in here. So let's pretend it's in here now. Look, it's BR 540. You gotta know that. Fall and winter time, spicy, warm, sweet, sexy, attention, monster. You have to know it. It is the best-selling fragrance from PDM. So yeah, I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot to add, guys. Everybody knows this one. And for warm weather, sadly, look at that. These colors kind of work out, don't they? When it's cold, when it's hot. Sedley is very fresh, nice mintiness off the top. Gives it a green kind of blast there when you first spray it on. Little shower jelly fresh, but not like a heavy shower gel, you know, it's got a great quality to it. This one works great during the summer, really nice office fragrance as well. We got more to go, we gotta keep it moving. Ganymede, we'll do Ganymede next. That I love, but Ganymede is a scent that can be a little divisive. So it has a minerality to it that to me smells kind of like aquatics or water working through slate. You know, working through stone. This very fuzzy kind of minerality, but it's super appealing to me. Also has leather in there as it dries down. Comes across quite unique. I mean, definitely a fragrance that when you smell it, you're like, oh, that is not like supernatural smelling, but it's still really, really addictive. And that one was also a hype beast. Good versatility, but for some people, it comes across really strong. And so if you go very heavy with it, it may not work as well for you. Then we have Nawab of Oud Intensivo from Ormonde Jayne. This stuff is absolutely amazing, okay? I like Ormonde Jayne fragrances a bunch. This is one of the best. Now, a lot of Ormonde Jayne fragrances have a similarity to them, where if you smell one, and then another and another and another, in quick succession, you'll be like, oh, they've got like a familiar theme going through them here. That's because those fragrances will have Guy Xerjoff's trademark to them, the perfumer. But still yet, this is one of the pinnacle of Ormonde Jayne. It has a touch of sweetness, bit of rose in there, but not an overly, you know, jammy rose or anything like that. Nice and fresh. And then you have a bunch of different woods underneath there, spices underneath there. I mean, it is Nawab of Oud, so yes, it has oud in there, but it's still extremely wearable. It's a little bit fuzzy, the way that the woods come across. Very elegant at the same time. Refined, sophisticated, smells amazing. That stuff will have you just like outshining everybody around you. Then we have made in from Spirit of Dubai, which actually the bottle is open sesame. There it is. It's like a little carrying case there. Ooh, magnetic. Top-notch leather scent, this one. Really, really good. And it's kind of in that family of like, I don't know, like a Tuscan leather, ombre leather, like in that overarching family, but it doesn't smell like either of those. It actually smells richer than those. The Spirit of Dubai fragrances have like 52,000 notes, most of them. Like when you look at the note breakdown, it's absurd. You have like 15 in the top and then the mid 15 more and 15 more. But the quality is very, 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 very nice. This one of the best, actually one of the more hyped from the house. They can be pricey, real pricey at retail. But sometimes you can also find those at discounters for a pretty good price. Nishane up next, Sultan Vetiver. This one I include because I like it. That's pretty much it. Does Hasselhoff get hyped more than this? Yeah. Does it deserve more hype than this? Maybe. Fan your flames? Maybe. But I don't care. Sultan Vetiver is my favorite. So yeah, if you like Vetiver, check this out. If you don't like Vetiver, you should like Vetiver. I like it. It's got a lot of different aspects of Vetiver. Green, grassy, a touch smoky, fresh, all of that going on here. Got a little bergamot, little neroli off the top. You know, it gives you a touch of freshness and sweetness that helps kind of guide you into the vetiver as it dries down. And you have a little leather in there as well, which helps accentuate different aspects of the vetiver. And Nishane's, a lot of times you can get for insane deals at discounters. Nishane is one of those brands where time to time, you know, you look at a discounter and you can pick up a full bottle, full presentation for under $100. And they are typically extraits, which means they last a long time. Okay, another Nishane, Ani X. This is the new 10th anniversary of the brand flanker of Ani. Ani is a really well-known vanilla fragrance, very hyped vanilla fragrance, and for good reason. Super solid, really, really nice. And if you like vanilla, it's one that you absolutely need to get your nose on. Ani X takes that DNA of the original, kind of freshens it up a bit. So it takes that opening especially and makes it easier for people to wear in neutral weather or even warm weather situations. Had the atomizer like pointing the wrong way. It does have a different kind of sweetness off the top as well, so keep that in mind, but still really well done. One of the better X flankers. Then we have Bortnikov Amber Cologne, and this is just one, again, that I really like. I think Amber Cologne is fantastic. Great quality, amazing scent. You have a lot of florals in here, but they are blended together exceptionally well. It doesn't lean feminine or anything like that. I'd say unisex, but yeah, you don't have to worry about it being too powdery or anything like that. Nice sweetness that you pick up here off the top. Again, it's gonna be more of like a floral sweetness, not like, you know, heavy vanilla or anything like that. I mean, there is vanilla in here, but when you first spray it on, it's more of the citrus, the florals, again, very rich, well put together. Just a really high quality, elegant spring and summer scent. Oops. Imagine I busted both those just now. And we will finish with Gris Charnel from BDK. So this one has cardamom, fig, iris, and sandalwood as some of the notes in the scent. So you can probably tell just by that note breakdown that it has a little bit of a creamy aspect to it. Really, really, really nice sweetness to it. Another one, great quality, very elegant, well put together. There are a bunch of alternatives out there, clone fragrances. So if you didn't want to spend the money on this, you could get those and save some cash. But if you have the cash, pony up and get that. So there we go, guys. 25 different scents that you need to know about. I think every one of these is worthy of your time. And truthfully, once you start delving into niche and indie, there is so much out there. This is like scratching the surface like this. Just like the tiniest bit. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.